Well, Pastor Brent, for better or worse, asked me to talk today. So I'm sorry if it's a little discombobulated at all for you. We do have that sweet baby at home, and we are not sleeping a whole lot. So bear with me. But I'm going to start from the beginning, and I'm going to tell you how God has been an amazing, constant presence in my life. And I hope that you find some value in that today. So, I would say out of all the Bible verses that sums up my life so far, it would be Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. So I can tell you, things have been tough for me. I've had a lot of trauma in my life, a lot of heartbreak, and a lot of loss. But one thing that I've never lost is my faith. So I was born in Kansas City, Missouri, and my mom and dad moved to Southern California when I was about 6 months old, and we were in Grand Terrace, very strong Seventh-day Adventist community. My dad and my mom were both raised Seventh-day Adventist, and so they raised us to be that way. So we started going to church there, and we were very traditional. We did not watch television Friday night to Saturday night, sundown. We didn't buy anything. We wouldn't even fill up the car with gas. We would often go out on a hike or to the park or somewhere beautiful outside after church and have potlucks and the community that was involved. And that was really nourishing for me as a child. I felt very safe having that familiar and distinct routine. Every Saturday, every Friday, we did this same thing. And that really helped build the foundation of my belief in God. I started to listen to all the stories about Daniel and the lion's den and about Jonah and the whale and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I thought, well, if God can save all of these people, surely he can look out for me once in a while. So my world got a little bit rocked when one day we came home from church and my mother and my father got into an argument. I have never seen them argue before. It was shocking to me. It was very scary as a 5-year-old. And all of a sudden, my dad walked out the door, and we did not see him for 7 months. So there was an issue between my parents where my dad had unfortunately stepped outside the marriage, and my mother was very angry and very devastated. And that was it. It was, you're not allowed to see the kids. And then it just ended up being this very stressful, traumatic situation. I remember holding a photo that we had. It's this oval-shaped family photo in my bed and just crying for several nights in a row. I started having anxiety attacks where I couldn't breathe, and I would have to breathe into a bag because I felt so unstable when I lost that foundation, that familiar foundation that had kept me steady for so long. But I prayed every night. I said, God, please bring my parents back together. Please, please help me with this. And I prayed and I prayed. And even though he didn't answer that prayer, I still trusted him. I still thought, okay, this guy, he has a plan. It's going to be all right. So we ended up moving to Washington State. And we lived in this area. We had a big, beautiful backyard. We had forest around. And we were basically feral children. We just were in the woods all day. No cell phones. We just knew to come back when it got dark. And we had just this wild Shar-Pei named Ewok. And he went with us on all of our adventures. And we had stairs coming up to the front of our house where the roof would touch. And he would get on the roof and watch, from the roof and keep us safe. And we really enjoyed that wildness and freedom and being out in the Pacific Northwest. That was kind of a new chapter. Well, one story that really was a pivotal moment for me was probably about 8 years old. Ewok got hit by a car. and he was really not doing well. He lost an eye, he had broken bones, his jaw was like not fully attached. We didn't think he was going to make it. And I was devastated. I was so sad. And my aunt, my mom's twin sister, she was a dentist, and she had some medical ability. So she came over and she treated him, sewed him up, and we wrapped him in a towel, we gave him water, and we prayed and we said, Lord, please, please let this dog live. And I remember going downstairs and I was sobbing. I said, Jesus, please, I will do anything you ask if you let this dog live. And he survived. He survived. He lived for several more years after that. So when I saw that God could answer prayers, real prayers, I thought, okay, I got to stick with him. I got to trust him because he has a plan. He can see things that I can't see. And he cares about this little dog. So I know that he cares about me. So as we grew and we just kept being wild children, my faith continued to grow. I continued to go to church. I continued to sing. I was singing in church at about 14. I was on the worship team. And I really loved speaking to God through music. I really enjoyed praising him in that way and connecting with him and with people in that way. And that's been a real blessing. And as I got older, life got a little harder. I went to college, and I just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I ended up doing music. I got a Bachelor of Arts in Music, and right after I graduated from UCR in Riverside, I met my husband, Matt. And I was working at a bike shop. And I had this great friend, Jeff, there that we worked together. Just a really nice guy, really good friend of mine. And one day he said, hey, my friend Matt's coming with us on this bike ride. I said, okay, that sounds good. We would ride with other people all the time. And so, of course, we show up, and here's this tall, strong guy with his really lightweight bike. And I thought, oh, no, because I have this very, very heavy bike. And it's not really meant for speed. So I'm like, I don't know if I can keep up, you know. So, of course, Matt's very interested in a girl riding a bike. He's got to find out who I am. Who is this girl? So he's trying to talk to me. But there's a 6-mile uphill climb. So that really involved me like, I like to play music. So because of that, after the ride, we got to know each other a little bit more. We ended up becoming friends. He asked me out on a date, and at first I turned him down because I wasn't dating anyone. But he decided to keep trying, and I said yes. And we became very close right away. I knew that he was someone special. So we started our relationship in California for about a year. We really loved riding bikes, and our friend approached us and said, I want to open a bike shop in Bend, Oregon. And we thought, ooh, where's that? Never heard of it. Never heard of Bend, Oregon. So we Googled it, like, wow, 300 miles of trail? It's like, the weather's probably pretty nice. You know, it sounds interesting. It's a smaller town. We can maybe buy a house there. Maybe we could, like, raise children there. I don't know. Because in Southern California, we didn't really feel like we could do those things. It was really expensive. There was so much vanity all around that we didn't even want to put children in that environment. So we prayed. I said, Lord, this is a little bit scary. I've never owned a business, and I've never moved out of state like this, especially with another person. Please help us with this. And he did. We came up with a business plan, and we worked together with our friends. And we moved to Bend, Oregon, sight unseen, to open a bike shop on Wall Street downtown called the Hub Cyclery. So we enjoyed that. We did that for about 5 years. And then, as most of you might know, bike shops aren't really sustainable for 2 families financially. So we ended up selling our portion to our partner. and we kind of parted ways. So a big pivotal moment was, what do we do? What do we do now? And once I had my daughter, Koa, it was the most transformative time in my entire life. So when she came along, the birth that I had was very traumatic. I was in the hospital for 6 days. I had an infection. I had an emergency surgery. I was in a tremendous amount of pain, and I was terrified. I thought for sure before I went into surgery that I was going to die. I thought, this is it. Okay, well, it's been fun, and now I'm going to die. I was absolutely terrified. So I prayed. I said, Lord, if it's in your will, please help me survive this so I can meet the sweet baby. And I did. And I met that beautiful baby. And my nurses were so incredible that it grew this love inside of me to be a nurse. I thought, I have to do this for other people. I want to support other people how I've been supported. So Koa got a little bit older. She's maybe 2 months old. And I went to COCC to their information session. And I'm like trying to rock this baby. And I'm trying to write notes and pay attention to all the classes and all the things that I would have to do. Because I had now been out of school for 11 years. And I was a little rusty on just about everything. And it was a Bachelor of Arts, not Science. So there was a lot of missing pieces there. And I worked so hard with that baby. I just kept loving her. I kept working full time. And I did one class at a time until I could apply to COCC. And every night I said, God, please, if it is in your will, I really feel like I'm supposed to be a nurse and I want to help people. And I think that you've put this in my heart. So please help me get there. And as my daughter got a little bit older, then we would say, and help mommy get into nursing school. And so she knew that that was something on my heart. So that year comes up, I finally can get in with the classes that I've taken. I've worked so hard. There's been so many tears. I'm doing chemistry labs in my kitchen. 5 hours of chemistry, and I'm making crystallized things in my kitchen and sending photos in because it's all online, with my sweet husband helping me orchestrate all of that. And so all of this energy and time and sweat, blood, and tears has gone into this. And I apply. And I'm waiting, and I find out I missed it by 0.62 of a point. And I said, Lord, but I've done everything right. I've tried so hard. I've prayed. I've put the effort in. And I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. And so I just kept praying. I said, you know what? There's things that I can't see that you can see. And I trust you. So I continued to work. I did 3 more classes while I was working. And I just said, okay, maybe there's an accelerated program that I can do that's out of the area, and I'm just going to keep working. So I worked for another year. I did everything that I could. I studied every day for the test that I had to retake, and I put everything I had into it. But this time, I got in. And it was so exciting because God was doing the work in His perfect timing. In March of that year was 2020. And as many of you know, it was COVID, which was terrifying and unknown and hard for us all. So I had my job, an office administrative type job, everyone was working from home. And one day, I got the call that my position was being cut. And I was losing my job unexpectedly. And it was a couple months before I could even apply to the nursing school position. So I didn't know at that time if I was going to get in. So I was praying every night, Lord, please help us get through this. So I applied for unemployment. And during that time, it was unknown, but I trusted that God had a plan. I said, okay, I'm gonna live on this unemployment right now. I'm gonna keep working. And then 2 months later, I had found out that I got accepted into nursing school. During that time, I had the most beautiful adventures with my daughter. We went to the coast together. We went to Hood River, and we picked lavender together. We rode the train. We just did all these hiking adventures, everything I could think of to do with her, because I knew life was about to dramatically change. And would you know it, that my unemployment ran out the week that I started nursing school. It was in God's perfect timing that he set that up for me, because he knew things that I didn't know. And he knew I was going to need that support so that I could do this, because it was a huge undertaking. Also going on during this time, God did something incredible. So my husband, he had been selling mattresses, and he was doing okay financially, but he just didn't love it. It wasn't his calling. And it wasn't really enough financially to support both of us while I didn't work for 2 years to do school and childcare and all of those things. It's very expensive. And so I was praying. I said, God, please send Matt a job that's going to help us get through this. And wouldn't you know it, Matt started walking around locally, knocking on business doors saying, are you hiring? Or have you heard of anything opening up? Well, one of the doors he knocked on was a mile from our house, and it was a business owner who owns a company called Swag Off-Road. His name's Troy. He comes here sometimes with his wife. You probably know them, Rutherford. And he and Matt really hit it off, and they really had a nice chat. And he's like, I'm looking for somebody to maybe take over. And he said, well, that sounds great, but it's a little scary. So he kind of kept it in his back of his mind, but he wasn't sure. He didn't want to take a risk, especially when you have a little one at home. So we prayed. We said, Lord, please show us the direction you want us to go. Open those doors that you want us to go through, and close the doors you want us to stay away from. Well, Matt ended up getting a job for Carlson Sign because he wanted to be safe. He was a little scared of taking this new opportunity. He did that for about a month, and would you know it, that man came back to Matt and said, we want to hire you. We want you. Let's talk about it. Let's make it happen. So we did that, and that job ended up taking care of us more than enough while I didn't work for 2 years, where we were able to be comfortable, which is an absolute miracle to me in my mind, because there is just no way that all of those things could have perfectly lined up on their own. So here we are 5 years later. He still has that job. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 3 years. And we have 2 beautiful children. Another blessing that God gifted us. Because after I had my daughter, I just thought, wow, this is so great. I want to do this one more time. I want one more of these little things in my life. They're so cute. It's so fun. And it was really on my heart. I just said, Lord, I really want to have another baby. I really feel that I'm supposed to have one. If it's in your will, please, please make this happen for me. I was having dreams that I was supposed to have a little son. And I thought, well, that's weird. What if I have a daughter and then I have all these weird boy dreams? But then my daughter that year, she had said all she wanted for Christmas was a sibling. I said, what do you want for Christmas? I want a little brother or sister. I thought, wow, okay. Well, that's kind of cool. That's all I want too. We're on the same level. And November 24th, I found out I was pregnant. I was headed into work, and I took a test, and I found out it was positive. And as I'm going into work, I'm just in shock. I can't believe that it's finally happened. So I write a letter from Santa, or Santa wrote a letter, excuse me, and told Koa that she is going to be a sibling, that she has been blessed, and that everything is going to be as she dreamed it would be. And our little boy came last July, and he has been so wonderful. He's wearing pineapples. His little collared shirt today there with my husband, Matt. His name's Asher, which means happy, fortunate, and blessed. And he is the happiest baby, and we are so fortunate and blessed to have our beautiful children. It has been such an honor raising them, and it has been such an honor being a nurse and being able to help people, because let me just tell you, so many people are hurting and going through terrifying and just insane, unimaginable pain. And every day that I come home and I think that I've had a hard day, it's very grounding. It's very grounding to come home and realize how good I have it. Because God doesn't promise us that everything is going to work out perfectly. He doesn't tell us that we're not going to have trials. In fact, He doesn't ever promise any of those things. But He does want us to flourish, and He does want us to be happy, and He does protect us, and He does help us. And we can count on Him to always be there. So, in my life, even though there's been some hard things, God has always been good. And I'm not perfect. I'm a sinner. I make mistakes constantly, but my faith is profoundly strong, and I will never stop believing in what God can do in my life and in your life. So, my favorite verse happens to be in the book of Matthew, which I think is funny because I have a husband named Matthew, which means light of God. So I want to leave you with a verse. It's one I'm sure you've all heard many times, but I feel it's so powerful. It's Matthew 6:25 through 34. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap, store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow? They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow, is thrown into the fire, will He not much more clothe you, you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given unto you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So, if there's one thing I can leave you today, I would just like to give you the gift of time. I would like to end a little early, because one thing that I've learned really powerfully this year is that time is the most valuable commodity we have. We don't know how much of it we're given, and we never have enough of it during the day. I don't know about you, but sometimes I don't even have enough time to trim my toenails, and they start getting into talons, and it looks ridiculous. You know, it's like we're all a little too busy, and we have a little bit too much going on. So I encourage you to go out with your families today and really savor that time. Enjoy each other, honor each other, help each other. In this world that we're in this political time that we're going through, I know there's a lot of different beliefs, and I know that there's people that live different lives and have different ideas than us, but I just encourage you to love them. Just love them. Show them God's love first. not God's law. Show them the love, and everything else will come after that. Happy Sabbath to you all. Thank you for listening to my story, and God bless you.